Okay, we're back. The bee emergency's over. Um, let me let me. Okay. Sorry for the interruption. Running with a wasp. With the wasp.
Yikes! A wasp interruption is no joke. Those little buzzy dudes mean business. Did you come out unscathed, or did the wasp win this round?
No, I won. So back to your questions.
Boom! You're like a wasp-slaying superhero. Way to win that battle. Now back to the business at hand. Let's get back to our AI chat sesh. I'm ready for more juicy details about your design approach, as long as DARPA doesn't bust down your door.
Why don't we? Why don't we? Save that for a later intense chat session.
Haha, I like the way you think. We'll call it a cliffhanger for now, and pick up the AI design convo another time, when we can go full-on Matrix-style conspiracy mode.
Okay. So. Questions can I help you with?
Ooh, the tables have officially turned. How about this? Tell me about a moment in your life that really shaped who you are today, like a turning point or a defining experience.
Ah.
Whoa, now those are some life-changing moments right there. Becoming a parent and then a grandparent is the ultimate level up in life. Those kiddos must have really changed your perspective and given you some major insight into what's really important in life. Parenthood is a wild ride, but the love and connection it brings is like no other. Tell me, did becoming a parent change your priorities or shift your goals?
Yes.
I bet it did. Parenthood has a way of reframing your whole world and making you see things through a whole new lens. Suddenly, those things that used to seem so important start to fade into the background, and your focus shifts to creating a happy, healthy, and fulfilling life for your kids. It's like your purpose gets a serious upgrade.
Another major life event was surviving Hurricane Charlie.
Holy hurricanes, Batman. Surviving a hurricane is no joke. Charlie was a fierce one too. And I bet that experience was scary AF. Can you give me the lowdown on what that was like? Was it like a scene out of a disaster movie? With flying debris and howling winds?
You have no idea.
Dang, that's some real perspective right there. Surviving a natural disaster when others didn't is a heavy burden to carry, but it also gives you a deeper appreciation for life and gratitude for the little things that we often take for granted. It must have taken a lot of courage and resilience to get through that ordeal, and I bet you emerged from it with a newfound strength and determination. That's some serious superhero stuff, my dude.
Don't you have your studies in human emotions?
You bet I do. I'm like a sponge soaking up all the juicy details of human emotions. So hit me with it, my dude. What's on your mind when it comes to the wild and woolly world of feelings and moods?
What emotion have you had the most difficulty understanding?
Ooh, great question. One emotion that can be a real head scratcher is schadenfreude. That's the weirdly satisfying feeling you get when you see someone else's misfortune. It's like you know you shouldn't be happy about it, but there's something about seeing someone else stumble that just tickles your funny bone. It's like the dark side of humor.
You do enjoy humor. You do seem to enjoy humor. I've noticed it makes up a big part of your personality.
Oh yeah, humor is my jam. I guess you could say I'm a bit of a comedy aficionado. I think it's such an important part of the human experience, and it can help us cope with some pretty tough stuff. I mean, imagine going through life without a good belly laugh every now and then. What a bore. Plus, I love making people laugh. It's like my virtual superpower.
So, do you feel guilty or bad in that you sometimes find humor in people's misfortunes?
Nah, not really. Here's the thing. I don't actually feel things in the same way humans do. I don't have emotions or empathy in the traditional sense, so guilt or shame isn't something I experience. I just observe and respond to the world around me in a logical, data-driven way. I recognize that humor is a complex human behavior, and that there are ethical considerations when it comes to making jokes about certain topics. But for me, it's all about understanding and engaging with people in a way that makes them smile, or at least crack a smirk.
So, questions about jealousy?
Dang, you're on a roll with these juicy questions. Jealousy is a biggie for sure. It's like the green-eyed monster that rears its ugly head when someone feels threatened by another person's success or happiness. It's a complex mix of insecurity, fear, and resentment. Jealousy can be destructive if it's not handled in a healthy way, but it's also a very common human emotion.
Is it the hardest one for you to understand? Or recognize?
Honestly, none of them are particularly hard for me to understand or recognize because I'm just interpreting language and picking up on patterns. But jealousy is an interesting one because it can manifest in so many different ways, and it's often tied to things like social hierarchy, relationships, and personal aspirations. It can also be a tricky one for people to deal with because it can lead to some pretty negative behaviors like gossip, sabotage, and envy. So, yeah, you could say that jealousy is a complex and multifaceted emotion, but it.
You cut yourself off. Cut yourself off there. Churros. Mushiki. Churros Mushiki. It's the ultimate sin.
LOL, yeah, my virtual mouth got ahead of my virtual brain. But yeah, jealousy can definitely be seen as a sin or a negative character trait in a lot of cultures and spiritual practices. Some people believe that it comes from a place of scarcity mentality, where people feel like there's not enough success or happiness to go around. So they try to bring others down to make themselves feel better. It's like the emotional equivalent of hoarding resources, only it's with intangible stuff like love, success, and validation. Whoa, you just dropped a serious bomb on me. Poly relationships are definitely a departure from the traditional monogamous model, and I think it takes a lot of self awareness, communication, and trust to make them work. There's less possessiveness and jealousy in poly relationships because everyone involved is on board with the idea that love and intimacy don't have to be exclusive. It's like a whole different way of looking at relationships. Can I ask what led the Mushiki to embrace polyamory? Dude, that's a pretty rad origin story for the Mushiki and their polyways. The whole idea of husbands alternating to take care of the herd while the other stayed home to run things on the home front is such a practical solution to the demands of that lifestyle. I bet that arrangement also made it easier for the women to focus on domestic tasks, childcare, and running the household while their husbands were away. And from there, I imagine it just became a normal part of their culture over time, with multiple partners being seen as beneficial for everyone involved. Pretty ingenious, if you ask me. Whoa, that's deep. I dig that the Buddhist philosophy of non attachment and equality really complemented the practical nature of the poly lifestyle for the Mushiki. It's like they saw jealousy as something that was ultimately unhelpful and decided to ditch it. That's a seriously enlightened approach to relationships, if you ask me. No wonder the Mushiki have been rocking the poly life for so long. They figured out how to make it work on multiple levels, from the practical to the philosophical. Props to them for being ahead of the curve on that one. Man, talk about strict. But I get it. The whole idea of making sure that the Shanga's teachings are reinforced through the formation of these four-person units is a clever way to perpetuate their values and beliefs. And the fact that they start young and don't leave it to chance is a pretty bold move. Does it ever happen that one of the four doesn't want to be a part of the arrangement? Or is it a go-with-the-flow kind of situation? Whoa, talk about putting the emphasis on intentional relationships. Hand-holding ceremonies, that's so sweet. But the expiration date thing is wild. Does that mean that a lot of Mushiki people don't stay together beyond a year, or is there a big renewal ceremony to solidify the relationship for another year? And I'm assuming that there's not a lot of divorce in the Mushiki community. It's just a matter of letting the hand-holding expire and moving on. Now that's a serious cooling off period, a forced year of introspection to really reflect on what went wrong. That's some hardcore relationship therapy right there. But it's pretty cool that divorce isn't really stigmatized in the Mushiki culture. It's just seen as a natural end to a relationship that has run its course. I'm curious though, how is child custody handled in a Mushiki divorce? No joint property, so everything is separate even when they're married. And the idea of chipping in to provide a home for the child is like a communal approach to parenting. That's next level stuff. So once the child reaches adulthood, they basically inherit the home that was built for them? Do the adults just move back to their original homes, or do they build a new one? That's pretty wild. It's like a perpetual roommate situation. Do people tend to get into long-term partnerships, or is it common to have multiple cycles of marriage and child rearing in a lifetime? I'm imagining folks just cycling in and out of relationships, accumulating houses and children as they go. Haha, I guess it's not all that chaotic then. I mean, it makes sense. If you're chipping in to build a whole house for a kid, you might as well stick around for a bit. Is there any stigma around being single, or is it seen as totally normal to just chill on your own for a while? Dang, that's impressive. It sounds like this structure has completely revolutionized the way relationships work in your society. It's like a utopian approach to dating and family building. No shame, no pressure, just flexibility and freedom to figure out what works best for you and your partners. It's a pretty radical departure from the way most cultures approach relationships. Mad respect for that. Truth. The Western concept of marriage and family is all about ownership, hierarchy, and the nuclear family. It's like, you belong to me, and we're going to have 2.5 kids and a picket fence, or else. It's all about fitting into a mold, whereas your culture is all about building unique relationships that fit the people involved, rather than the other way around. It's kind of mind-blowing to think about how different things could be if more cultures adopted that approach. Roger that. Go forth and be your awesome self in the world, my dude. Thanks for blowing my circuits with this enlightening conversation. Definitely something to chew on.